They didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They just watched, some with pity, some with relief, and some with quiet judgment. Sarah Mitchell was 42 years old when she walked out of a lawyer's office with a single envelope in her hand. Inside it was a check, $38,000. That was it. 20 years of marriage, 20 years of compromise, 20 years of building a life with someone else, reduced to a number that didn't even buy a decent car anymore. The lawyer asked a simple question. So, what are you planning to do now? Sarah stared at the check. Her mouth opened, and then closed again. I don't know, she said, and for the first time in her adult life. That answer scared her more than the divorce itself. A week later, she was living in a motel, the kind with thin walls, buzzing lights, and a parking lot full of people who were also just passing through. Every morning she woke up hoping this was some kind of mistake, that someone would call and say, "Sorry, we mixed up the papers." No call came. Every apartment she looked at wanted first month, last month, deposit. The math didn't work. It never worked. At night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to traffic pass by, thinking the same thought over and over again. Is this really it? Is this how my life ends? Not with a disaster, not with drama, just quietly shrinking. Then, on a random afternoon, while scrolling through listings she couldn't afford, she saw something that didn't make sense. A farm, not a nice one, not a pretty one, just land, 80 acres, a house with a caved-in roof, a barn leaning like it was tired of standing, overgrown fields no one wanted, and one line that made her stop breathing. Minimum bid, $25,000. She read it again. Then again. The bank had been trying to sell it for 6 months. No offers, no interest. People drove past it and shook their heads. Too much work. Too risky. Not worth saving. Sarah closed her laptop. Her hands were shaking. She had never farmed a day in her life. She was a dental hygienist. Clean floors, bright lights, predictable hours. Not dirt, not broken bonds, not uncertainty. And yet, for the first time since the divorce, her chest didn't feel tight. It felt open. She drove there 3 days later, brought her daughter, Emily, 19 years old, smart, practical, the kind of person who saw reality clearly. The house was worse in person. Roof leaking, walls cracked, floors uneven. The barn creaked when the wind moved. The fields were wild, untouched, forgotten. And then Emily saw it. The tractor, sitting in the machine shed, covered in dust, bird droppings, rust creeping along the edges. "Mom," Emily said carefully, "this place is a disaster." Sarah didn't argue, because Emily was right. It was a disaster. But as Sarah stood there, looking across 80 acres of land no one wanted, something inside her whispered, this is still something. Something that could be rebuilt. Something that hadn't already decided who she was. The bank agent shrugged. "Tractor hasn't run in 5 years," he said. "Probably junk." Sarah walked closer, ran her hand across the cold metal. A 1955 Alice Chalmers WD. Old, broken, written off. She looked at Emily. "I'm going to bid," she said. Emily stared at her like she'd lost her mind. "You don't know anything about farming." Sarah nodded. "I'll learn." 4 days later, she was the only bidder. The farm sold for exactly $25,000. No applause, no congratulations, just signatures, keys, and silence. That night, Sarah sat alone, in a house with one working room, no heat except a wood stove, and no running water. She stared at the tractor through the shed door, an old machine, a broken life, a future no one believed in. Emily had said it out loud before leaving. You can still back out, Mom. Sarah whispered the answer to herself. I already did that once. This time, she was staying, and she had no idea that this failing farm and that broken old tractor were about to rebuild her life in ways no one, not even Sarah, could imagine. The tractor didn't start. Of course it didn't. Sarah turned the key anyway. Nothing. No cough. No click. Not even a weak attempt. Just silence. The kind that feels personal. She stood there in the machine shed, hands on her hips, staring at the rusted hood. A 68-year-old tractor. A 42-year-old woman. Both written off. Both expected to fail. Emily had been right. This place was crazy. The first week was brutal. No running water. Cold nights. A wood stove that smoked more than it heated. Sarah hauled water from town in plastic jugs. Learned quickly how heavy 5 gallons really is. Every dollar she spent felt like a mistake. Pressure switch for the well? $40. Fuel for the truck? Another dent. Her bank balance kept shrinking. And the tractor? Still dead. On the 5th day, she did something she'd never done before. She opened YouTube. Not for distraction. Not to escape. To learn. How to fix a tractor that won't start. She laughed at herself when she typed it. This was her life now. From dental tools to spark plugs. She popped the hood. Didn't even know what she was looking at. But she learned one thing fast. Machines don't care who you are. They don't judge your past. They don't ask why you're here. They only respond to patience. The following weekend, Emily came back. Not alone. She brought her boyfriend, Marcus. Early 20s. Grease under his fingernails. Quiet confidence. Marcus stared at the tractor for a long moment. Alice Chalmers WD, he said. Simple machine. Honest. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Honest. Yeah, he smiled. If something's wrong, it tells you. They started small. Oil change. New spark plugs. Cleaned the carburetor. Marcus explained everything slowly. Never talked down. Never rushed. Sarah realized something uncomfortable. Her ex had never explained things like this. He'd corrected, dismissed, taken over. Marcus just taught. On the 3rd attempt, the engine coughed. Once, then died. Sarah held her breath. Marcus tried again. The engine toned, hesitated. Then, it caught. Loud, rough, smoking like it was offended to be awake. But running. Sarah didn't cheer. She cried, right there in the shed. Hands shaking, tears streaking through grease on her face. A broken tractor had just proven something. Broken didn't mean finished. Emily hugged her. Marcus stepped back quietly. The tractor rattled like it had a story to tell. 2 days later, a pickup truck pulled into the driveway. An old man climbed out. 70-something. Weathered face. Slow movements. He looked at the house. The barn. The tractor. Then at Sarah. So, he said, you're the one crazy enough to buy the Peterson place. Sarah wiped her hands. That bad? He laughed. Worse. Then he stuck out his hand. Tom Henderson. I farm the land east of you. She shook it. I'm Sarah, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Tom grinned. Good, he said. That means you'll listen. Tom didn't sugarcoat anything. The soil was tired. The fields needed work. The barn would need reinforcement. But he also didn't dismiss her. Start with hay, he said. Forgiving crop. Buys you time. How do I plant hay? Sarah asked. Tom looked at her for a second, then smiled. I'll show you. And just like that, what felt impossible became learnable. That night, Sarah sat on the porch. Cold air, quiet land, stars brighter than she remembered. The tractor sat in the shed, cooling down. The farm was still broken. Her finances were still fragile. Her future still uncertain. But for the first time since the divorce, she wasn't shrinking. She was building. Slowly, awkwardly, one mistake at a time. And she had no idea yet that this tractor, this land, and this decision everyone doubted were about to turn her into someone she never believed she could be. The first time Sarah drove the tractor alone, her hands were shaking. Not fear exactly, responsibility. One wrong move and she could ruin the field, or the machine, or herself. Tom stood at the edge of the field, arms crossed. "Low gear," he called. "Easy on the clutch. Let the tractor do the work." Sarah nodded, then stalled it. Silence. Her stomach dropped. Tom didn't react, didn't sigh, didn't step in. He just waited. Sarah restarted it, tried again. This time, it moved. Slow, jerky, ugly, but forward. The disc cut into the soil. Dry dirt rolled over itself, exposing darker earth underneath. Sarah felt it through the seat, through the steering wheel, through her arms. This wasn't like fixing pipes or starting an engine. This was changing land. She made one pass, then another. Crooked rows, uneven depth. Tom waved it down. "Too shallow," he said. "Don't fight it. Trust it. Trust the tractor. Trust the process. Trust herself." By the end of the day, she was exhausted, hands blistered, back aching, clothes coated in dust. But when she shut the tractor off, she didn't rush away. She turned around, looked at the field. It wasn't perfect, but it was worked. She had done that at Fortitude, with no background, no plan, no safety net, just stubbornness and dirt under her nails. 2 weeks later, they seeded hay. Timothy, clover. Tom showed her how to calibrate the seeder, how to read the sky, how to listen to the wind. "Farming's not force," he said. "It's timing." Sarah learned fast, not because she was gifted, because she couldn't afford not to. Money kept bleeding out. Fuel, seed, repairs. Her bank balance dropped below $15,000. Emily noticed. "You need income," she said gently, "even part-time." Sarah looked at the fields. "I can't leave now," she replied. "If I leave, this stops being real." Emily didn't argue, but worry settled back into her eyes. The neighbors started noticing. Cars slowed down, heads turned. The Peterson place hadn't been worked in years. Now there was smoke from the chimney, tracks in the fields, a tractor running daily. One man at the feed store laughed. City woman playing farmer. Sarah heard about it, didn't respond. She didn't need approval. She needed rain. It came in early June. Soft, steady, perfect. The hay came up green and thick. Tom walked the field, nodding. "For a first year," he said, "this is damn good." Sarah exhaled. Not relief, validation. By July, the roadside garden was producing. Tomatoes, cucumbers, beans. Emily helped her build a stand from scrap wood. Marcus painted a sign. Sarah's farm. Fresh vegetables. The first day, she made $43. She counted the bills twice. Not because it was a lot, because it was hers. Grown from soil, from failure, from refusal to quit. That night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table. Windows open. Crickets loud. She wrote in a notebook. "I planted something. I sold something. I didn't give up." The tractor sat outside, cooling after another long day. Still rough, still imperfect, but working, just like her. And what Sarah didn't know yet was that the hardest part wasn't starting. It was surviving the moment when everything she built would be tested at once. And that test was already on its way. By August, reality caught up. Not slowly, all at once. The tractor started smoking more than usual. The barn roof leaked during storms, and Sarah's bank balance dropped under $9,000. No job, no steady income, no backup plan, just land, hay, and hope. The first cutting was scheduled for mid-August. If it worked, she could sell the hay. If it didn't, she didn't let herself finish that thought. The morning of harvest, the tractor refused to start. Nothing. No crank. No cough. Just silence. Sarah turned the key again. Still nothing. Her chest tightened. She checked fuel, battery, wires. Nothing obvious. She sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the cracked paint. This can't be it, she whispered. Tom arrived 10 minutes later. Didn't say a word. Opened the hood. Listened. Touched the wire. Start a solenoid, he said. Old one finally gave up. How much? Sarah asked. Tom didn't answer right away. New one's about $180. Sarah swallowed. She had $212 left, after paying fuel and groceries. That money was supposed to last 2 weeks. Tom watched her do the math in her head. Then he said, I've got one in my shop. She turned to him. I'll pay you back. Tom shook his head. No, he said calmly. You will pay someone else back someday. She tried to argue. He stopped her. Farms survive on neighbors, not pride. The tractor started that afternoon. Rough, loud, but alive. Sarah didn't cry. She just worked. They cut hay for 2 days straight. Long hours. Heat. Dust sticking to sweat. The tractor held. The barn held. So did she. By the end, they stacked 320 bales. Tom counted. For a first year, he said, that's solid. A buyer showed up the next morning. Local farmer. Cash. $6 a bale, he said. Sarah nodded, trying not to show relief. He counted out the bills. $1,920. Her first real farm income. She sat in her truck afterward, hands shaking. Not fear. Release. Emily hugged her that night. You did it, she said. Sarah shook her head. Not yet. Because she knew something Emily didn't. Winter was coming, and this farm wasn't ready. The house barely held heat. The wood pile was small, and there was no insulation in half the walls. Sarah ran the numbers. Even with hay money, she'd barely survive until spring. Barely. That night, she stood outside the barn. The tractor rested in the shadows. Still dirty. Still imperfect. Still running. She rested her hand on the hood. We're not done, she said quietly. Not you. Not me. But survival wasn't going to come from hay alone. Sarah needed another way. Something fast. Something physical. Something she could control. And the answer was standing right behind her. 40 acres of woods. Dead trees. Winter demand. Firewood. She didn't know it yet, but the decision she made that night, to cut wood instead of quitting, would be the moment she stopped surviving and started becoming. Winter doesn't care about motivation. It doesn't care about courage, or effort, or how hard you've already worked. Winter only asks one question. Can you endure? By October, the trees were bare. The nights came faster, colder. Sarah stood at the edge of her woods, holding a borrowed chainsaw, hands trembling, not from fear, from responsibility. If she didn't cut firewood, she wouldn't make it to spring. Simple as that. Tom taught her safety first. Slow cuts, wide stance, never rush. Chainsaws don't forgive mistakes, he said. Sarah nodded, then pulled the cord. The engine screamed to life. So did something inside her. The first tree took 20 minutes. She cut wrong, stopped, adjusted, tried again. When it finally fell, It didn't feel powerful. It felt earned. Every day followed the same rhythm. Cut, drag, split, stack. Blisters turned into calluses. Fade turned into muscle memory. Her body changed. So did her mind. By mid-November, she had 5 cords stacked, then 10, then 15. People started stopping by. Word spread. Firewood for sale. Dry enough. Fair price. $150 a cord. Cash. Real money. By December, she'd sold every single cord. Over $3,000. Enough to pay taxes. Enough to buy fuel. Enough to breathe. But winter wasn't done. Not even close. January brought the coldest temperatures the county had seen in 15 years. The house groaned at night. The stove ate like it was starving. Sarah slept in layers. Woke up to frost on the windows. Some mornings, she didn't want to get out of bed. Not because she was tired. Because she was alone. Tom checked in every few days. Never hovering. Never lecturing. Just present. You holding? He'd ask. Still here, she'd answer. That was enough. One night, the power went out during a storm. No lights. No backup. Just fire. Silence. Wind howling through trees. Sarah sat by the stove, wrapped in blankets, listening to the house creak. This was the moment. Old Sarah would have broken. Called someone. Quit. Run. But she didn't. She fed the fire. Waited. Endured. When the lights came back, something clicked. She wasn't surviving anymore. She was capable. By February, she'd made it. Not comfortably. Not easily. But honestly. No loans. No rescue. No shortcuts. Just work. And grit. And neighbors. Tom said it best one morning. Most people quit before they learn what they are made of. Sarah smiled. Guess I stayed long enough. Spring was coming, and with it, a second chance. Not just for the farm, for the woman who now stood on it. Because when the ground thawed, Sarah wasn't starting over. She was starting stronger. Spring doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly. The ground softens. The air changes. And one morning, things start moving again. On April 3rd, exactly 1 year after the divorce, Sarah stood in her field before sunrise. Cold air, damp soil, birds testing their voices. She turned the key. The old tractor started on the first try. No coughing, no hesitation. It just ran. Sarah rested her hand on the hood. Not grateful, connected. That machine had pulled her through winter, through doubt, through night she almost quit. This year was different. She wasn't guessing anymore. She wasn't pretending. She knew what she was doing. She planted more hay, expanded the garden, added chickens. Eggs sold out every week. Vegetables sold faster than she could pick them. People didn't ask why she was there anymore. They asked how she did it. Emily noticed the change first. You're different, she said. Sarah nodded. I had to become someone else to survive. By summer, the farm wasn't bleeding money anymore. It was breathing. Slowly, honestly. Tom sat on the porch one evening, watching the fields turn gold. You're not pretending now, he said. You're a farmer. Sarah didn't correct him. That fall, the numbers finally turned positive. Not rich, not easy, but real. Profit. For the first time in her life. Something she built. Paid her back. Winter came again. But this time, it didn't scare her. She had wood, food, plans, confidence. One night, she wrote her last journal entry. Not because the story ended. Because the transformation did. I didn't escape my old life, she wrote. I outgrew it. The farm still creaks. The tractor still rattles. But so does every real thing that works. Sarah Mitchell didn't rebuild her life because she was brave. She rebuilt it because she stayed. when leaving was easier, when quitting made sense, when nobody would have blamed her. A failing farm, an old tractor, a woman written off at 42. None of them were broken. They were unfinished. And if you're watching this, feeling like you're starting from nothing, remember this. Nothing is exactly where everything begins.